Librarians. Welcome to episode 367 of School Librarians United. I'm your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian, finishing my 19th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources, so whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can reach me on Facebook, on Threads, and on Instagram. You can find me at School Librarians United and on Blue Sky at SLU Podcast or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. Before we dive into today's conversation, I wanted to take this opportunity to share some thank yous. Keep in mind that anytime you start a list like this, there is invariably somebody who fails to get mentioned, but here goes. To ALA, many thanks for the press pass. It is an honor and a delight to share this podcast platform with our national organization for the purposes of broadcasting important news and amplifying the experiences of our attendees. Many thanks to ALA Editions and Rob Christopher, as well as Bloomsbury, for the opportunity to review copies of books written by school librarians and the opportunity to interview their authors. I wanted to thank Jean Applebaum of Library Comic Store. See the link in today's show notes. Some of you have seen the advocacy jacket that I wear, which has evolved over the years, thanks in large part to the fantastic patches which I have purchased at Jean's booth every time I attend ALA annual conference. I highly recommend you take a look at his website. My only recommendation is if you purchase the oversized skull and the banner patches, definitely pay a professional who does alterations to hand sew these very oversized large items versus ironing. I do know someone who shall remain unnamed who has scorched their skeleton skull by trying to iron it on. Big shout out to Tim Jones of NIMCO Inc. See the link in today's show notes for both their online company and our episode that we recorded. I love these shirts because it has become a very important way by which I advocate every day for librarians and the important job we do in our libraries every day. Many thanks to Lori Lieberman for being the most accommodating roommate ever. Thank you to Robbie Barber and to Steve Tatro for your long-standing friendship and support, and especially to Dr. Martis. It was great to see and catch up with you at this conference as well. Thank you for your encouragement. I want to send a big thanks to Tom Bober and the friends of Tom Bober who come together each year to attend the banquet celebrating the Newbery and Caldecott Award winners with a lovely dinner and an equally entertaining table conversation. I am so grateful. Thank you to my co-presenter, Diana Haneski, her husband, Ray, and River, the therapy dog. She and I presented a session this past Saturday titled Pawsitive Impact, How Two School Librarians Transformed Crisis Response and Student Wellness with Therapy Dogs. Diana and Ray drove up to Chicago all the way from Florida with River in their car, and I'm so grateful to have had this unique and wonderfully memorable opportunity to present with Diana and to have River with us. I'll include a link to our slide deck of our presentation in today's show notes. Today's Voices of ALA Annual Conference 2026 is a favorite type of episode of mine to record. I walked all over the convention center for 4 days and encountered attendees representing an array of experiences and roles in the library profession, living all over the United States. In this case, Arizona, California, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And now for today's episode and my conversation with 16 attendees at ALA's annual conference in Chicago.
Good morning. My name is Evelyn Pratt. I am an independent school librarian in Massachusetts. I work with grades 6 through PG, so my library covers a pretty wide range, and I spend all day in the library helping them find books and resources.
Fantastic. One of the things I'm really curious to learn about is your journey, because for most of us as school librarians, we started off as educators working in the schools and then coveted that prize spot of being the librarian like I did. And I was like, I want your job. And so tell me, what is it that brought you to working in school libraries?
So I went to library school in Ohio and then moved to Richmond, Virginia, where my family was. And I actually worked at VCU as a research and instructional librarian there. I mostly worked with freshmen who are still children, right? So I helped them navigate databases, figure out Boolean operators, those kinds of things. And then I moved to Massachusetts with my family. And I took a little bit of time off. I had some kids and went back to a university library for a smaller all-girls university where I worked with freshmen all the way through graduate students. Still doing the research and instructional work. But I also did things like collection development. It was much smaller, so all of us did a lot of things. So it was fun to kind of see how that kind of all-inclusive librarianship was. And I liked it. I like libraries. I've always liked libraries. And so from there, I have 3 kids, and I like to spend time with them. And school schedules are fantastic. So I subbed a little bit and tried being a traditional educator, but I just really like libraries. It's where I belong. It's where I'm happy. So I transitioned into being a school librarian at an independent school, which is a little bit easier because you don't need the licensure. And I have been really happy there.
Wow. So I have to imagine that what you've learned from supporting our college students has given you a unique perspective in working with your, you think those college freshmen are young. Wait till you meet your incoming 9th graders.
Yes.
Because, that's you're talking about a lot of growth in 4 years.
Yes.
So, but I think that's fantastic. And, there are a lot of us who working at the high school like to team up with our local universities and colleges to sort of facilitate that transition or make sure that our students are getting the kinds of supports that they need to make that transition. But thankfully, we've got people at the college end too that's working with them. I love that perspective.
Yeah. I think when I was working with freshmen, right, especially in a huge school like VCU, they come from all kinds of educational backgrounds. So they've all had so many different kinds of exposures to the things like Boolean operators. I mean, most kids don't even know what that means, right? So I think that being able to expose kids at a high school level to those things so that they are prepared when they go to high school is really helpful. And scaffolding it at different ages is great because you have to repeat it. They're going to forget it year after year. I can teach a freshman class and then see them again as seniors, and they will have completely forgotten all of the things. So you just have to reiterate it, I think. And it's important for us to do that before they are kind of released into the wild as college students.
I appreciate, though, given our current climate for AI and just how pervasive it is, at the college level, they were seeing this considerably earlier than we were at the high school. Do you feel that has really sort of has to factor into what kind of literacy we're working with when we work with our young people, whether they're at the high school or the college level?
Sure. I mean, I think that it's really going back to basics, right? Making sure we give them those critical tools to just analyze the sources that they have. You can't just let them go out and use AI and just accept everything that it gives back to them. And you have to have those conversations with them. I think it's really important that administration supports school librarians in giving them those resources and having those conversations. But it's really just teaching them to think about what they're using and how they're using it.
I'm so glad we had this opportunity to talk. I'm so glad you're here. You're going to have an amazing time at this conference. Thank you so much and have a great time.
Thank you.
My name is Amy Ozarkas. I am from Southern New Jersey, and I'm a high school librarian at a career and technical high school, a public school.
Fantastic. You've been doing this a while. You've been a school librarian for over 30 years. Have you always been a high school librarian?
No, I was a middle school librarian for a while, but I've been a high school librarian now for 12 years.
Fantastic. So what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
I've been a librarian for a long time, and actually next year I'm retiring. I would like to just talk about making the library the hub of the school.
Please, what has worked for you?
I am not necessarily, you have to read, you have to read, you have to read. I'm more about creating a space where students can come and hang out and socialize, hopefully get off their phones a bit, make stuff. And then, that's kind of the gateway to enjoying comic books and manga and graphic novels and hopefully, some more books with some more meat in it.
Absolutely. How do you create that invitation? Do you have signs on your tables? Do you have passive programming? What kinds of things do you do to entice them off their phones? Because like you, in my high school, the kids can have their phones all day, all the time.
Yes.
And the only thing I've found to successfully pry them away from their phones is bringing a therapy dog to school. And the dog does provide more entertainment, at least for 5 minutes for my students. But what is it that you've been able to do to bring your students out of that sort of connection with their device?
Well, we have a lot of board games and a lot of like Uno, card games like that, apples to apples. I always have a jigsaw puzzle going. So kids just come in anytime during the day, sit down, and not necessarily talking to each other, but they are at the table and they are, kind of doing it together, side by side. Lots of coloring sheets, art supplies. I would say our most popular thing in the library is our button maker.
And I gotta say, it's always fun to come to conferences and there are giveaways, but the first thing you did was offer me some of these buttons. Tell me about the buttons that your students made.
Well, the buttons are actually for our Stonewall committee to give out to people, and I have students design the buttons. They really enjoy that, on Paint or, whatever they use, Canva. And then I have them making the buttons, but I also have a bunch of discarded books and comic books out where kids are just free to mess around and cut up the buttons, and they really like it.
That's so much fun. Well, and I think that outward expression is really an opportunity for students to convey messaging safely and do so in a way that allows other people to see their allies. And so, no, I absolutely love that. Yes, thank you for the button.
You're welcome.
Absolutely enjoy putting that on my school lanyard. But let me ask you, you're here, you've been a librarian for a while, and you have indicated that retirement is on the horizon. What is something that you're excited to do here at this conference? Because you've come to a national conference and you have one more year.
Yeah, well, I love young adult books, especially diverse books and queer books. I love meeting other librarians and talking to them, just like I sat down at the table with you and said, hi, my name is Amy, I'm from New Jersey, and I'm a school librarian. I just, it's a great community, it's a great vibe, everybody's interested in the same thing and getting excited about books and authors and bookmarks and buttons and swag. And
fantastic. Thank you so much, Amy, for stopping by. And I appreciate you sharing everything with us today.
You are welcome, Amy.
Hi, my name is Haley Muntean, and I am an elementary librarian from Minneapolis, and this is going to be my first year as a librarian. I have not started yet, but I am excited to start the profession, and my goal this year is to find ways to make all my students feel like they can see themselves in the books that they have in the collection, and also to make the library a space where all kids feel like they can come and they can relax and they can discover what they're passionate about, create, and discover who they are as readers and as learners.
Can I just say, I am so impressed. I've not been quiet about this, but I had been a librarian for easily 5 years before I even considered going to a conference because I was so overwhelmed. And it was not something that had naturally come to my thoughts. I was like, hey, I should go to a conference. No, I was just trying to do my job. So I'm so impressed. I'm so curious because you're in library school. You haven't started your job yet. I'm sure you visited the school where you're going to be working. But what was it that inspired you to say, actually, I should travel to Chicago and attend American Library Association's national conference?
I've read the School Library Journal. I've been active with the American Association of School Librarians, and I've been active with my state organization, the Minnesota Library Association. So I said, what better time to do it now? It's 150th anniversary. I mean, we're celebrating that with our country, and I think now more than ever, it's important to protect intellectual freedom and democracy at a time that's so pivotal in our country's history.
I'm just so impressed because when I was in my first library, I really struggled. And the idea of going to my national conference just wasn't even on my personal radar. I love that you have your school in mind, because while you haven't started there, you've obviously visited, and there are so many exciting things about your space. You have been there already. Tell me a little bit about what you are looking to do here at this conference, knowing that you've already been to your new space and you're excited to hit the ground running.
Definitely, I'm going to focus on obviously going to places where the genres are like featured genres like graphic novels or things like that, and explore obviously what books are out there, what's popular with my students, but also looking for ways that I can include more students, whether that be going to sessions about like bringing Pokemon into the space, or financial education, or even therapy dogs. I'm really excited about that one. And meeting authors too as well, and trying to make connections and see if I can find people that are local to potentially offer author visits. And my school does something unique, and they do artists in residency. So they have visual artists, musicians, but they don't have a lot of written arts. And I plan to bring that to my school. And what better way to do that than have authors come and talk about their books and their writing process.
Haley, it's like I'm looking at the future of this profession. You're just starting out. This is so exciting, and I can't wait to see and hear more from you in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So my name is Angela Durham, and I come from South Carolina, and my school had 5 neurodiverse groups of students in an elementary setting. And so as being the 2017 School Librarian of the Year for South Carolina, my platform became how to increase school librarians' usage and knowledge of and feeling confident in working with special needs students.
Well, and I love that because you've just retired. Congratulations.
20 years.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
But you're not done raising the next generation of school librarians, especially when it comes to your expertise in working with students who are neurodiverse.
Right. Yes, yes. So luckily, the University of South Carolina allowed me to be in their PhD program, and this is what my study is going to be on: how to increase knowledge and confidence in ideas, practical ideas for school librarians to be able to work with neurodiverse students.
I'm sure we could point to the things that school librarians are doing that are not helping our neurodiverse population, but could you give us some best practices when it comes to school librarians supporting our neurodiverse, both students and our staff?
Well, I think, first of all, they need to know that the law, the federal law, the IDEA law, requires that their administrators provide for them the knowledge, the 504s and the IEPs for their students, so they can have more knowledge about the students and being able to provide better services for them. Number one. Number two, talking to their teachers, their special ed teachers, finding out more about their students and connecting their reading preferences as well as their learning styles and any other behavioral knowledge that they could use to craft and design their lessons for differentiated instruction.
Well, and I do know that oftentimes our neurodiverse students respond very differently in different settings.
Right.
And there are things that we can do and routines that we can put into place that offer our neurodiverse populations that sense of familiarity and comfort level for them to feel that this is a space that supports them as well.
Yes, that's correct. So I would say to people that remember that neurodiverse students, they learn every day. They learn in their classrooms, they learn at home, and the main thing that you want to strive to do as a school librarian is to give them that sense that this is a safe place, this is a place they want to come to, and they want to be with you and feel relationships with you because they are relationship kids.
Well, and I know that it's awfully empowering when any student can find the things in the space that they seek out, whether it's programming or it's materials or it's books. And I know especially if we're working with a population for whom routines are important, I find that this has really helped support all of our students, but especially our students who look to those routines and that familiarity.
So a visual calendar, scheduler, or agenda is very helpful. I used to have one that was circular, but now I'm doing one that is stair step or straight down. So then, like in their classroom, it's designed similar to their classroom, that when we're done with one section, they could see how that works, the same as in their classroom, and going to the next activity, whether it's checking out books, especially kids who are time sensitive, who want to know, when are we going to do this? When are we going to? So having that visual scheduler helps them to see, this is where we're at right now. This is where we're moving to next. And so it gives them that comfort to know that you understand how they learn.
I love that you are taking all of this expertise that you have accumulated over the many years working in South Carolina school libraries. And now you're working towards an advanced degree. You're getting your doctorate.
Yes, correct.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing. And I look forward. I understand your session is on Monday.
Yes.
It's very exciting. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
My name is Dr. Renee Burris. I live in Missouri and work there. I work at the University of Central Missouri preparing future librarians, especially school librarians, because I am a former school librarian, elementary.
You are an instructor now. What was your PhD on when you became a doctor? What is it that you studied extensively to become a professor to teach future librarians?
Library and Information Management at Emporia State.
Excellent.
And my dissertation was on the Every Student Succeeds Act funding, so advocacy.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. So let me ask you, what is it, there are a lot of things that bring us here today. Specifically, when you come to a conference like this, what is, tops on your list of things that you hope to accomplish, this being the largest assembly of librarians in the world?
Just to see what's new. I want to be able to see what's new and get that to my students. This is a great way as a professor, since I'm not currently in a school library, to stay current on what's happening in the field, and be able to go to sessions and meet everybody.
I love that you are directly responsible for instructing the next generation of school librarians. What are some things that you have been working to make sure you impart on those you're working with directly?
Right now, we're trying to make sure we stay connected with AI and see where that's going. We are learning the pros and the cons. There's both for that, but that's part of staying current. I'm really into teaching my students about advocacy and being able to connect with their stakeholders because, as you know, teachers are shy and school librarians are often coming out of teaching, and so they have to learn how to toot their own horn, how to connect with their principal, their school board, people in their community to brag about their libraries. So that's really important to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you right now, you've got a semester starting or ending? Are you taking a break?
In the middle of summer semester.
For your students right now, can you give me an idea of what are you doing in class? Is there a particular objective that you're working on?
This week we are working on stakeholder advocacy. They are preparing an elevator speech, 60 to 90 seconds and I give them little scenarios. What do you say if you're at the grocery store and somebody says, "Why are you getting an MLS? Doesn't Google replace you?" How do you respond to that? You need to have a quick response to that. Aren't school libraries irrelevant? Why do we still have school libraries? You need to have a quick, prepared response to that.
Absolutely. And customize it to the recipient,
Yes.
because when you're talking to your, superintendent versus, a family member or a taxpayer or somebody who doesn't even have children in the district, but they still pay to support the schools that are in their neighborhood. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to
talking about censorship. Like, I gave them a scenario. A mom comes in and says, take this book off the shelf right now. How are you going to respond to that parent right there?
Absolutely. Well, and you really do have to be ready for everything, and educating ourselves in anticipation that those fit the needs of the communities that we serve, appreciating that we support a very large community.
Very diverse communities.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, my cheat is, my 2-word elevator pitch is support everyone.
Yes. Libraries are
And that is, to be quite honest, that one has worked for me in every scenario. I say support everyone, because it doesn't matter who walks in my door. The first thing I say is, what can I do for you today?
Yes.
How can I help you?
Absolutely.
How many staff members do you have in a school for whom that is their only objective to satisfy that day? I'm supporting everybody who walks in the door.
Yes. And we teach them that. Yes.
Thank you so much for stopping by and talking with us today. The folks in Missouri, they're in good hands. I've been to Columbia last summer. I spoke at the group that met in Columbia, and it was absolutely inspiring, and I had such a great time. I love Missouri because
we need to get you down to Warrensburg.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really do accept invitations.
All right.
I'm a very accommodating
come
speaker.
Talk to our students.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, especially in the summertime, there's a lot of flexibility there. And especially, for those of us for whom during the school year, it can be very difficult to get this kind of time off.
Yes.
I never miss one of these conferences for that reason. Renee, thank you so much for leading the next generation. Thank you so much.
Right. You're welcome.
Hey, I'm Lisa Bishop. I'm a former teacher librarian out of San Francisco, California, and former president of California School Library Association. And I'm very happy to be here at ALA, and I'm here because I'm supporting the Zine Pavilion, since I'm a zine librarian, and I love teaching teachers and students about zining and about free expression and writing and drawing and using all of their intelligences in one space and not being afraid. Because a lot of kids come to school afraid to read and to write. When you do zines, it breaks that all down, and they're allowed to do whatever they want. And they feel like teachers and the librarian are on their side, because they're just not quite confident enough to take it on, or they've been told they're not good at reading or writing. And so I just adore, when I discovered the Zine Pavilion in 2015 at San Francisco ALA, I was like, why didn't anyone ever tell me about that stuff? As a teacher, since I was a teacher before I was a school librarian, and I'm like, I would have been zining with kids way earlier. I don't know how I missed it. So,
well, and I love the accessibility of zines. I love that, in my understanding, it is a, paper and pencil. It's not digital, although I could see where somebody could digitally create a zine as well on a template. Yeah. But I love that, especially when you recognize our students with these short attention spans, and they are so limited in how much they will allow us to infiltrate their thinking. But if you have something as manageable as a zine, we're talking about something that is you can hold it in your hands, and it is very compact, and yet it is such a wonderful way for them to express themselves creatively.
Yes. My first year I did zining with a 6th grade teacher at my school, and she and I were just learning how to do it. We had 2 students that really didn't know what to write about. They didn't know what to draw about. And Miss Stewart says to one of the kids, I've seen you're really good with people in this classroom. You seem to be a good friend. He ran over to his desk and he wrote down on his cover of his zine, he said, how to be a good friend. The next page, 1 through 10, how to be a good friend. When I'm copying all the zines, I'm copying 1,000 zines for the school, and all the kids go back and fold them and cut them and get them ready for the Zine Festival, which we have our students do every, the second week of school. The San Francisco Zine Festival happens. We have a big table. Thousands of people come to get our zines because they like to see what middle schoolers are doing and thinking about and drawing. So the first zine that was sold
was that student's zine. And I said, wait a minute, hold on. I almost didn't copy this zine because there was nothing else in the zine but the cover and 1 through 10. And I said, why did you buy this zine out of all the hundreds of them on the table? And she said, because I'm having problems with my best friend in London, and it says how to be a good friend. And number 5 says, be patient with your friend. And that's exactly what I need. I said, well, it doesn't have anything else in the zine. And she said, what else do I need? I need nothing else. That's perfect for me. Those are the first zines that sold out at that zine festival. And the second one was chocolate is the best food group in the world. And that one is the exact same format. First page, second page, nothing else in the zine. And I'm like, you know what? Teachers need to give up having finished work sometimes and not having everything perfect or so-called best work. Yes, that was that child's best work. And it sold the first. It taught me so much as a teacher and a teacher librarian not to be so picky. And it allowed me to allow them to express themselves. And they trusted me a lot more. They trusted Miss Stewart a lot more. And so the two of us together became the zine, teachers at the school teaching other teachers how to allow freedom to happen in their classrooms through zining. So come see us at the Zine Pavilion if you can at ALA.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to make my way over there. And I love, forgive me, you also, when I approached you initially, you said, I'm retired. But you're not done, are you?
No, gosh, no. Just had my first grandchild a couple of months ago, and I think I'm never going to go back into schools. Yeah. But I am. I'm teaching people at City College in San Francisco how to make zines. I went to see CSUN down in Los Angeles this year at the university and taught them about zining. And so I'm just on my way to continually ask for freedom from people, because zining is freedom, and it allows us to speak our mind, and the First Amendment is in play. And we need that right now. And we really need the First Amendment to be upholded. And we need to push back on stopping ourselves from speaking freely in the land of the free.
Lisa Bishop, I am so glad our paths crossed. I am so glad you've given me a million ideas. And right now you've just inspired a lot of people to do their homework and realize that there is a place for this, really regardless of what age group of students we support. Whatever their strengths are, they can lean into. If it is writing, if it is drawing, hey, they can collaborate. And it requires them to think critically about what is important to them that they want to create, to put down on paper. I love that. Thank you so much. And I will definitely be joining you to learn more about this format, because I'm so excited.
Thank you, Amy.
Hi, my name is Faith Huff. I am a high school librarian in North Carolina. What I do all day is too long to list. I do a little bit of everything: help with tech, books, run a library program, collaborate with teachers, all the fabulous parts of our school library job.
Well, and you and I have recorded episodes in the past. I'll make sure to link those in the show notes. That's always fun. But I wanted to hear about something you're recently doing, because it sounds exciting and it sounds massive, but it also sounds like something that our listeners could benefit from.
Yeah, so we are very excited. I am currently serving as the past president of NCSLMA, the North Carolina School Library Media Association. And our organization just won the ABC Clio grant from AASL and ALA to fund a program that we are calling SLAY, School Library Advocacy Institute. We have people who have applied from all over our state of North Carolina to be part of this cohort that's just starting out. We hope to teach them about advocacy, help support them, help them come up with a plan to advocate either at their school, at the district level, or at the state level, national level, if they're ready for that, to really build something that works for them where they are in year one. And then in year two, we hope to inspire them to move forward with a bigger plan, to talk to legislators, to step up and talk at school board meetings, to do the big scary things after they've realized that everyday advocacy is not at all scary, but they also have what they need now to do the scary things if they want to.
I'm so grateful you and I reconnect. Back in the early days when I was looking for talent, you were not shy. North Carolina is well represented, and there are a lot of episodes. We'll make sure to include friends. You can search by state. And if you look for North Carolina, you look for Faith Huff. I know you're here also because you've never been to ALA here in Chicago.
No.
What is something that you're hoping to see, or you're excited because we're here at the national conference?
Well, I'm excited about Chicago in general. This is such a cool city. I have to go see the Bean because I am a tourist, if nothing else. We tried to get tickets to the Obama Library. The day they came out, they were sold out instantly. I'm enjoying I love ALA in general. It's only my second ALA ever. And I had a conversation this morning while being a crazy person and waiting in line for Veronica Roth. Got there early, had to meet some Veronica Roth. And I was talking to some public librarians about how they could partner with school libraries. And so those conversations, those bridges, they don't happen when we're in more of our siloed conferences. And so we had a great conversation about how public libraries can partner with school libraries and what we need, and the fact that we are overwhelmed and maybe you reach out and we don't reach back, some different programming ideas. That's why I love ALA, because those bridges don't exist anywhere else.
Well, and especially because, you and I do so much remotely. There's so much that you and I have had to do through emails.
Yeah.
And nothing beats face-to-face.
I'm looking in your real eyes right now, not just your virtual ones.
You're wonderful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to connecting with you in the future.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Heather Hartman Jansen, and I was a school librarian in the great state of Maryland. I just retired about a week ago.
Congratulations! A lot of listeners right now are privately very jealous. So let me ask you, you're retired, and yet one of the first things you did is come to ALA, where there are approximately 15,000 of us walking the halls of this convention center. What is it that brings you here now that you have moved into this next chapter?
One thing is that ALA is a great place to feel that community of other librarians that many of us as school librarians don't get to experience because we are the only ones in our buildings. Also, I still feel like I have something, even though I've retired, I still have something I want to provide to the community. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I don't feel like, once a librarian, always a librarian. I started when I was in school, those many years ago, as a middle schooler. I worked in my school librarian and then in my high school library. And then eventually, after getting into education, came to find school librarianship as a career. And I feel like there's still something I want to do. I don't know what it is, but it's there.
I will say I have done an episode called Retired Librarians Rock. And in Michigan, our retired librarians oftentimes respond to fellow school librarians in the trenches who are undertaking large projects and need extra hands. But it's doing something that requires a certain level of skill. Connect with your state organization and see if there's a way that you can come in and do some of that. I don't want to call it triage, but you've got librarians helping librarians. So the Retired Librarians Rock episode is all about how you can get involved with supporting in the trenches school librarians and making sure that they get the help that they need, but they usually have to feed you.
Yeah. Food is good. Education, we're trained to respond to food very well. They don't pay us, but we can eat.
Yes, such as the trials and tribulations of being an educator. We oftentimes work for bagel breakfasts. And yes, I get it. I totally get it. I am so excited that you and I crossed paths. You did say something funny. You said that you listened to the podcast during the pandemic.
I did. The podcast, I discovered it during the pandemic, and those, after being stuck inside all day, trying to do what we could, helping teachers who were frantically trying to figure out technology and trying to be a step ahead of them, I would take walks around the neighborhood and I would plug in the podcast and listen to it on my AirPod.
And not to, toot my own horn, but I'm going to tell you right now, one of the most empowering things was during the pandemic that while all the conferences were being canceled, the podcast is pandemic proof. And the wonderful thing is, after I realized we were able to publish 14 podcast episodes specifically about the pandemic and being a librarian during the pandemic. I actually self-nominated for Library Journal Mover and Shaker Community Builder. And in 2022, I received that designation of Mover and Shaker community builder because I built a community of listeners based on the expertise that librarians were sharing on the podcast. And that only happens because fellow school librarians reached out and said, hey, I found a solution to a problem, and I'd really like to share that with other listeners. Listen, Heather, I'm so excited for you and your retirement, and your community is going to benefit from you. Congratulations. I hope you have a fantastic summer.
Thank you very much.
So friends, this is a really incredible, wonderful meeting. And I'm just going to say right now, when you go to a national organization's conference, you never know who you're going to run into. And especially because as a podcaster, I rarely am face-to-face with my guests. But I had a wonderful opportunity to have a reunion of some sort with a former guest on the show. And I'm so excited they're going to introduce themselves because they are a former guest. They've been on the show before, and we're going to sort of recap. We're sort of make those connections because it was 3 years ago. G, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm G. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm currently a middle school librarian in Illinois. And I'm also on the steering committee for Queer Library Workers, which is a networking group for queer librarians in the state of Illinois.
Amazing. Well, we first met you 3 years ago, and I'm trying to figure out, did I reach out to you? Did you reach out to me? How did we make that connection? Because I know 3 years ago, it's not unusual for me to just, I don't want to say cold call, but reach out to somebody and say, hey, would you like to be on my show?
I think I had been a listener, and I think I had reached out to you and said, oh, I would love it if we talked about like trans inclusion and also LGBTQ inclusion more broadly, but like specifically trans inclusion. I think I reached out to you and you were like, well, let's do it together. And that's how it came to be.
Well, and I didn't have any volunteers, and then you reached out and was like, well, I'm going to ask. And I was very concerned that I was respectful of the boundaries because I am not a formally trained journalist. But you were incredibly generous in being candid about your journey. And at the time, you were not here in Illinois, you were in another state.
Yes. No, I was keeping things fairly anonymous for privacy reasons. As many people are aware, librarians are being doxxed over the country, which is like when your personal information is revealed against your will. Trans people as well. And so being at the intersection of being a trans school librarian, I am particularly conscious of my digital privacy, especially with groups that will seek out people to put on blast and to harass. But I was fighting this urge because it's so vital right now that we talk about how to support our trans patrons and also our trans staff as well, because we are also going through this in this way that fascism is presenting itself in the United States right now. And so I had reached out to you, and I was really thrilled that you wanted to sit down and have the conversation, because it's something that I am super passionate about at every school I've ever worked at. I've been really involved with the GSA, and I'm a big support for our trans and non-binary students on the different campuses that I work at, and that's a responsibility that I take extremely seriously.
Well, and friends, I'll make sure to link the episode in the show. And it was at the time when we recorded, I really was grateful, because having somebody as courageous as yourself be willing to share your journey with listeners, because if we're lucky, at some point, we get to work with trans colleagues and trans students and non-binary students and students who are in a journey that they are still realizing themselves. I'm very fortunate to work with a trans employee, and I'm very proud of my district for doing that. So I have always been very grateful that I especially am in a space where my administration's been very supportive. But you have news. You are now in a new school. You made a very wonderful change in your location, and tell us, this has a happy ending.
Yes, I am really thrilled. I made a new move to a role where I am compensated for my time, and I have colleagues who respect me and collaborate with me, and a principal who is there and supports me and advocates for me and my budget and my programming. And I'm really fortunate people respect my pronouns and my title. I have students who respect me and look up to me, and I have a collection that is representative of the world that we live in, and I'm able to do programming and present at different conferences about the work that I do, and I'm fortunate to help other school librarians help create welcoming spaces as well. And so I am definitely in a much better place now.
Well, and for those of us who are self-proclaimed allies, I want to be the ally that is needed, because so many of my staff members are learning as we go. And until they are personally influenced, and know somebody who is in their circle of family or circle of friends, I think their perspectives are sometimes just a little ill-informed, or perhaps intentions are not as respected as they should be. But as an ally, allowing us to understand better just a little bit about how your journey has sort of taken. I think this is a happy ending. I know that you said off tape that you are happy in where you live and work in your new chapter of life, and that's wonderful. And so I love that we get to do a follow-up and make sure that and friends, I do encourage you to go back and listen to our first conversation, because there was some of that uncertainty, and there was this concern, and you want to know that you can be happy and feel supported in your school, as everybody should be.
Exactly. And right now, so many of us are afraid, because that is increasingly being attacked. And I am very fortunate that I am in a space that really does support me and does hold firm on their EDI commitments. But that is not the case. And it's also, I'm always wondering, when is that rug going to be, pushed out from underneath. So it's up to all of us to get a little braver and do everything that we can to stick up for information access and our welcoming spaces.
Well, and let's not forget, you are a trailblazer. Your administration, kudos to them. That also takes courage. And it also speaks to the community where you work, because it takes a lot of people to be as receptive and open and welcoming, to be as inclusive as they are in their school community. And I'm so glad you, as my mother would say, you landed well. You landed well. I'm so glad that you said, hey, let's catch up, because I'm happy to hear that everything is going well for you. And this is wonderful. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic summer.
Thank you. Same to you.
So I'm Sydney Overton. What do I do every day? That's a great question. But first, I am from Chicago, Illinois. Yes, so the city gives me plenty of things to do, to be honest. I drink coffee, I walk my dog, I take care of my plants, and I definitely go to work. I have 9 to 5 at the local university library at UIC.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Well, let me ask you, I'm really curious. So you are right here. Your conference is in your backyard. How lucky is that? This has been on your radar for a while, that you were going to come and be here. What are some things that really are exciting and you are looking forward to being here and celebrating? Is this your first ALA?
It is, yeah. So I've been at my university now for just over a year and a half. So this is my first ALA. We are back and better than ever here in Chicago, the conference being held. So I'm so excited. I honestly didn't really know what to anticipate other than great conversation and free books.
This is the world's largest assembly of librarians. So you really do feel like we're in the center of the universe when it comes to celebrating what we do every day. Yeah. Like, people around us get it.
Yeah, definitely. I love it.
You can enjoy the vendor hall as much as you like, because you don't have to ship anything home. Friend, I have a little handheld scale to measure like how heavy my luggage is. And I pack a suitcase in a suitcase, because I don't want to have to pay overage. I have, multiple suitcases. But you just put stuff in your car and go home.
Absolutely. And I have a beautiful drive home. I take Lakeshore Drive the whole way. I'm on the north end of the city, so It's awesome.
Oh, I'm so jealous. So let me ask, tell me a little bit about what you do every day.
Yeah, so at the library, I am a program assistant for student success. So what that looks like is, every semester for the entire academic year, we are putting on programs for the students to engage with, depending on what their needs are. So we're meeting both their wellness needs, but also their academic needs. And it's very high intensity, fast paced, but it's really good because it feels super fulfilling at the end of each semester.
Well, absolutely. And let me ask, what kinds of sessions are you going to help you do your job every day?
Yeah, so I know that yesterday we went to an eMERT session, which was really nice because that was also talking about how the library can program for people of color and students of color in particular without leading it to a sort of tokenism sort of situation.
Yes.
And I think that libraries, though the intention was very pure, the speakers had mentioned that when you were just putting on book displays, that can be a form of tokenism. What are you doing to meet the needs past that?
Well, the word that comes to mind is authentic.
For sure.
So when you do something, doing it with the best of intentions, but also some authenticity, that might mean that you are working collaboratively with the populations you're trying to support.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I love that. Well, but that's important because you don't want somebody to just see this as, like you said, a token. And that could be disingenuous when you do that. And so I love that you are taking that extra step to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, we are definitely, UIC is a minority majority school.
Love it.
So it's really important that we're also making sure that we're being representative of our entire student body and everyone's that is there. And the ladies that spoke yesterday really highlighted that as well.
Oh, I'm so glad. So that was a really amazing experience.
Incredible.
I am so glad we had a chance to talk. I really am. Thank you so much for sharing, because when people tune in, they really get an appreciation for the people who are here and maybe another reason to go to a national conference. I am listen, I waited way too long into my profession. You sound like you're new to this profession. Some of us have been around for a while. This is my 19th year in library.
Wow, okay.
So congratulations. You've got a head start on everything and clearly a wonderful career ahead of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, have a wonderful conference.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Eli Farunas. I work in Mooresville, Indiana. I work at the Mooresville Public Library, but they also have me over at Paul Hadley Middle School.
Wow. Okay. So many questions. It's like you have dual lives. I mean, do you shift gears? I want to know, how does your brain hold two things at the same time? Your professional life as a librarian in a public space, but also in a middle school. That shift is remarkable.
So I really think about it in both spaces. How can I advocate for the other? How can I advocate for my patrons in both? When I'm at the middle school, I always let them know about the resources they have through the school, but also as students, they are able to get public library cards even if they aren't residing in the township, and all the resources and e-resources that we have available through there, all the programs I have coming up. It's a really great way to let people know, hey, here are some events coming up over at the public library, and get some attendance there. Sometimes it can be tricky during the summer when I don't have that captive audience. And over at the public library, I'm always finding ways to bring things over to the schools, and also taking things from the schools and building partnerships.
We are resourceful people, regardless of which sphere we dwell, and we're always trying to make those connections to other resources. But you have an intimate awareness of what each of your libraries can provide to the patrons in that moment, but also, like you said, when you are not there, how you can take advantage of the other. I love that. So when your boss came to you with this proposal, how'd you take the news?
So I actually inherited this position. They had been working to set this up for years prior to me starting in Mooresville, but they would get approval from the principal, they'd work to get approval from the superintendent, and then there would be a new principal, and they'd have to start the whole process over again. But the librarian before me was the first librarian in this position, where she was working as the teen librarian and as the middle school librarian. She unfortunately passed away, and I inherited that position when I started, and I was told, you'll be splitting your time between the two places. it has meant that, especially with the school, that's a fixed schedule. So at the time I was starting, I was also working on my MLS at IU. And so having to coordinate my own school schedule with my work school schedule, with the library schedule, was something that I am glad they were flexible enough with me to allow me to be able to take all my classes while being able to work full time as well. It did mean I had days where I was working from 7:30 in the morning till 8 at night with an hour commute on either end of that, but worked out well.
And I'm going to ask the tacky question because you know there is somebody out there who's like, this would absolutely work for us. Who pays you? Do you get one paycheck? Do you get a partial paycheck? How does that work?
So I am technically fully employed by the Mooresville Public Library, and they have a contract with the school district. So they bill the school for my salary. So they subsidize that.
Excellent. Wow. I'm so glad that our paths crossed. I am jealous because it sounds like you've got the best of both worlds. That doesn't mean I'm planning a career change anytime soon, but I do see this solution as one that states could consider, especially when not only do we have a shortage of professionals, we also have buildings that cannot necessarily support a full-time professional. So it sounds like you have a solution that other people could definitely incorporate into their spaces. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
My name is Cezanne. I live in Tucson, Arizona. I attend the University of Arizona getting my MLIS degree, and then I also work currently part-time in a school library of a really small K-12 school.
All right, this is so many questions. At what point did you make the decision to, because this is a career change, you had been what I consider a traditional teacher.
Certainly.
And then you had that light bulb moment. But what was it that made you go, I need to get this degree?
Well, it all started with a pile of books that would end up in the corner of the library because we didn't have any full-time library staff at our school. In fact, it was just up to teachers to regularly volunteer to maintain the space. All of the books were by donation. There was really no circulation. Yeah, I know. It's pretty shocking. So yeah, people would just throw the books on the floor, and we can't be doing that. So I started taking some of my planning hours, spending some time in the library, starting to sort of try to get a handle on our collection, and I kind of realized just what an insanely big job and responsibility that was. And I was like, okay, our students deserve a full-time librarian. I want to do this. And so I just took it on, and now I'm getting my degree.
The important thing is that you acted on your assumptions and what you have concluded based on the patterns that you could see in your school and going, oh, dude, you're right. Our kids deserve better.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And there's also just been such a positive change since we've been dedicating more school resources and my time to this library. Like I have a fleet of really, really great student library leaders. We call them library gremlins, or I guess they call themselves that. And they have done everything from completely doing all of our shelving, our circulation, our book displays, coordinating events. We even coordinated with the shop class to build a book elevator in our library because we have an upper loft. So it's just truly transformed into a really functional but also just like fun and actually engaging space. And then of course I've also been doing lots of like information literacy programming recently. I'm here at ALA to build an AI curriculum and workshop for our high school students. I'm so excited. I've got so many ideas.
I think what's really exciting is that you understand and you're going into library school with a very acute awareness of how desperately we need people who have training, and you learning on the fly gives you that energy and the momentum, but you also need to know a lot of the specifications that you need to know the details and really what the core of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And library school was one of my most amazing. If I could do anything again, I would go back to library school, knowing what I know now. And I just don't have that excuse.
I feel like it's like a channel for all my ideas and for my passions. And of course, I'm meeting lots of great professionals who are so knowledgeable and established in the field who have really, really great advice for me, especially here at ALA. It's so nice.
anytime you go to a conference, whether it's at the state level or at the national level, you are bombarded with all this inspiration.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And you can now act on it, and you make, and also importantly, you make those human connections.
That's the most important thing, working in any library. And it's also making me realize that I also have some stuff to bring to the table here. You know, I've also got some ideas, and I've got some sort of from a very beginner's perspective, but it's making me feel like I've got something to contribute to the field.
Well, and I think the mistake I made, and I've oftentimes shared this, is how late in my profession I made it a priority to go to my state conference and to my national conferences. And I appreciate that for all of us, this requires some sort of sacrifice, some sort of commitment in terms of financial commitment.
I mean, for me to sacrifice is that I have to go down to being a part-time teacher to get funding for my program and to be able to do a graduate degree. And it's so amazing that I've gotten the opportunity to travel here and to be funded in my graduate school, but it just breaks my heart to be away from my school.
Well, and you know what? At the end of the day, you are investing in yourself. And the better you are prepared as a professional, it will sustain you for a career that is going to last you a very long time.
That's what I'm hoping. I just have to get through this last semester, and then I'll be ready to go full.
Okay, as somebody who is twice your age, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's worth it, it's worth it, it's worth it.
Oh, amazing to hear. Thank
Welcome
you so much.
to the profession. Thank you so much.
Wow, what a blessing. Thank you so much.
My name is Ray Haneski. I am from South Florida. Margate is where we live. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland is where I worked.
Well, and you were are you retired as well? I know Diana just retired.
Well, today, June 30th, I am retired or retiring, depending on when this airs.
Congratulations, and friends, I have Ray, who is part of the Haneski Dynamic Trio. Very fortunate yesterday to give a session about the positive impact of therapy dogs in our school libraries with Diana Haneski, our emotional support librarian. I'll include a link in the show notes. So, friends, Ray is part of this dynamic trio, which includes River, the therapy dog, and you're also the chauffeur. You drove all the way from Florida.
I did. I love to drive, and it was important that we came here with the dog this time for this presentation. So we got to see some of the country on the way here.
Well, and I've got to say right now, as somebody who is in a loving and supportive marriage, but the last place my partner would be is in a school library or a librarian conference, kudos to you and to River to have that commitment to come to drive all the way from Florida to Chicago.
Yeah, it was a great trip. We do things together. We went through some things together, so it's important to me that I support Diana's projects and aspirations and that we showcase River.
Absolutely. Now, you and Diana have retired, but River is not retired. River is going to have a very busy career ahead of her. Can you give us an idea of, while you won't necessarily be going to schools every day, what is it that allows you to make sure that River also stays active in the role that she serves in your community?
So we're active with our local organization, local therapy dog organization, Canine Assisted Therapy, catdogs.org. So we'll be volunteering with them. We're also with the national organization, HOPE AACR, Hope Animal Assisted Crisis Response. They respond to floods, disasters, that kind of thing. So we'll be active with them also. And she seems to be at conferences, so maybe we'll be at ALA or one of the sub-conferences in the future.
Absolutely. Well, and truly, I know that while both of you have truly become a model of a loving and supportive relationship, truly, because for so many of us, when we go to these conferences, it is a solo event. And I'm so thrilled. Thank you, Ray, for supporting Diana. Thank you for bringing River this far and for your return drive back to Florida. I truly appreciate you. And happy retirement, but not retired.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll see you again. Good to see you. Thanks.
My name is Shannon Oldsman. I'm the Associate Dean of the School of Information Sciences at Wayne State University. I grew up in Iowa, lived all over the Midwest, and now I'm in Detroit. Very happy to call Detroit my home. I've been the Associate Dean for about a year, so I'm still relatively new, but I've loved getting to know the students, the faculty, the communities around us.
Outstanding. So friends, I'm not shy. I tell everybody and anybody who will listen, I graduated not once but twice from Wayne State University, my second time with my master's in library and information science, my degree that started the same month the Twin Towers fell. I was very fortunate that this program allows you 6 years to finish a master's. I used 5 because I was raising 3 children under the age of 3. And this was my sanity check. Going to library school and getting my master's was a gift that I gave to myself. And I'm so grateful that Wayne State made this possible. And I will say I did this all IRL because this was back in the day when we really did not have virtual classes. But so let me ask you, as Associate Dean, what are some ways in which you feel that you have been instrumental in promoting our program, promoting our profession, doing what you can from your vantage point? Because I can't say I've ever been able to interview anybody with your particular job.
Yeah, thank you. So my job has a lot of facets. One aspect is making sure our faculty are really engaged, really ready to teach, teaching the latest and greatest information and preparing our students for success out in the field. Another facet is working with the students themselves, answering questions or concerns they have, clearing up any miscommunication, and making sure our students can be as successful as possible. That's really my number one goal, because I think our successful students who are doing good work out in their communities are really the best marketing we can have for the opportunities that the School of Information Sciences offers.
Well, and selfishly, I live and work in Metro Detroit. It has been my home forever, and I truly am grateful that I just had a 15-minute drive downtown. But Wayne State's School of Information Science is now a program that one can get virtually. Could you speak to that a little bit? Because while I benefited from this program IRL, and selfishly I needed to get out of the house with all those babies, again, it was my sanity check. And I remember saying specifically to my husband, I need to be reminded that I do have a brain, it works, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel while I may be drowning in diapers right now. But the reality is that Wayne State, like other programs, has also recognized that being able to support a learning community outside of our physical geography is also vitally important.
That's right. The program is now entirely online, whether you are a generalist, academic librarian, school media, archives. You can get any of those specialties online. If you're in the archives or the school library area, you do have to do a practicum, but we have folks who help you locate a practicum wherever you are at. So you don't have to come to Detroit to do the internship. Wherever you're located, we will help you find a practicum that works for your needs. The thing I love about online education is its flexibility. It works for students who are doing a second career, returning to the classroom after a long gap, or coming right out of their bachelor's, all sorts of circumstances, different locations, different communities. The thing I always say is if you have, 2 kids and a mortgage and a car payment, you don't want to uproot everything for 2 or 3 years to get a master's degree and then move someplace else. With an online program, you have the flexibility to do it from wherever you are at the times and in the duration that work best for you.
Oh, that's fantastic. And now, Les, I have to ask you, you're here at this, national conference. It seems obvious to me, but why is this also an important part of your role?
So I'm really doing 3 things here. One is meeting alumni and making sure they know how much we appreciate them, just like Amy here.
You're welcome. Yes.
The second thing is meeting prospective students and other librarians, letting them know about the opportunities that we have at Wayne State University and the resources we have. And then the third thing is networking with my community, other library science schools, other librarians, and building a community of educators and passionate people who want to see the next generation succeed.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I am so grateful, and trust me, I am making do with my degree. I could not have asked for a better experience from Wayne State University, and I highly recommend, friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'm Hannah Webster. I'm in Sparta, Tennessee. I'm at Woodland Park Elementary with a pre-K through 5 school. But right now I'm also Castle's Tennessee Association of School Librarians president-elect, and we'll be working with their executive committee through the next 3 years as president and then past president.
Well, and congratulations. Yes, you've signed up for a 3-year tour of duty.
Yes, I have. Whenever they ask me, they're like, "Are you sure? You just said yes so fast." I was like, "Yes, I think I'm sure. Am I not supposed to be sure about this?" Yes.
Exactly. Well, and the reality is that there is such a learning curve, and there are so many roles and responsibilities. In fairness, I think giving you some time to get your, bearings and sort of ease you into that responsibility, because they gradually give you a behind-the-scenes look at all the things that are going to be on your plate.
Yes.
So I think they're doing a really good job. That's a great. And it's pretty standard practice now. It's a 3-year commitment.
Yep. It's built-in mentorship.
You're here at this conference, but you told me this is the first time you've ever come to ALA.
Yes, I'm baby conference.
Wow.
Goer.
So let me ask you, walking into this, it's pretty jaw-dropping, the scale of what you've got. You have been to state conferences before, and I love the scale of state conferences because it is something that does not overwhelm you.
Right.
This can be a little overwhelming.
This can be. And to add to that overwhelm, small town, and not saying anything against that, but it was my first time flying by myself. First time I'd been on a plane in 15 years. And so all of that, and then stepping into, what is this, national conference? Yeah, I was a smidgen overwhelmed when I got here Saturday afternoon, but it's chill now.
Well, and you've apparently gotten over any apprehension you might have, because you've already rubbed elbows with some fairly famous people. Would you please share? Because this alone would be enough to convince some people to you know what? I'm going to make going to a national conference a priority. Because, friends, I love a state conference. I love a state conference because it's one of those things that I am able to do. But, coming to a national conference does require a little bit of sacrifice, a little bit of planning. It's always going to be more expensive than attending your state conference. But it's been worth your while.
It has been. So far, you said it so nicely that I've been rubbing elbows with people. I may have just been inserting myself into their lives without their invitation or creeping on them. That is not going to gain me any kind of fans there, or friends. But yeah, I've got to meet Kwame Alexander. Happened to be right place, right time, and he's so hard to miss. I never realized how tall he was.
Incredibly tall.
Incredibly tall. Right place, right time, walking by when he was celebrating the opening launch of his new publishing imprint. And I just stood there, probably just like fangirl, just like, I can't believe, look, it's Kwame. This is fantastic. And he stepped out of his way to say hi to him.
That's amazing.
I mean, just amazing human being.
But it doesn't stop there.
Oh, and so then I decided to go watch some chess to kill some time. And, there was Raina Telgemeier just sitting there like a normal person. I mean, what are the odds? And so I just went and tapped her on her shoulder, which Amy told me I am not allowed to touch people.
No, you really should not be touching people.
Probably should not.
She's a good sport, though.
She was such a good sport.
Yeah.
And introduced myself, told her how much my kids loved her, how much it had rubbed off, even on our art program, because we incorporated Cartoonist Club into a collaborative project with the art teacher. And she took a selfie with me and signed my bag. And again, it was just a genuinely nice human being. Hung around for a little bit longer. And Raina was up to MC the next match, which happened to be between Steve Shinkin and Tien Pham. And so I hung out, which also talking to Tom Bober again, because I met him last year. Tim Jones, being my friend now. Tim and I are buddies. Again, just meeting people, saying, hi, I'm Hannah. And they were just hanging out after the game. And I said, would you sign my bag? Hi, I'm Hannah. Would you sign my bag? Can I have a picture? Thanks. This was great. Did you ever think you'd burn so many calories playing chess? I mean, normal things. So.
Well, and I love that, again, when you're at a state conference, it's fantastic. You might have one big name. You might have, because that's all you can afford.
Right.
You come here and you just walk around and it's like, wait, I know you because I've seen your face on the back of the books that are in my library.
Now, will say that served me well as recognizing faces.
Yes.
Like that has been a huge thing because when you see them in the wild with the normal people, that I say normal, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just regular people.
Yeah.
But if I didn't recognize their face, I would walk outside.
Well, and I'll put a link to this in the show notes, but you also have my favorite bag.
Yes.
Because it looks like a library card.
Yep.
And, so many people want to get their books signed, but I love the idea of getting this canvas bag signed because then, even if the kids lose the signed book, you still have this conference bag, which is wonderful because it is a remembrance of the authors you've met. They've signed it. The date is in the due date. And I'll put a link in the show notes. Hannah Webster, I am so excited you were able to we connect because we're actually sitting in the vendor hall at some lovely furniture, which I don't think I can afford for my library.
No.
But Hannah, I hope you have a great rest of the conference and a great rest of the summer.
I will. You as well. Thank you.
My name's Carrie Banks. I run the Brooklyn Public Library's Services for Children and Teens with Disabilities. It's called Inclusive Services. And what do I do every day? I don't do anything every day. Every day is different. So one day I might be, but I am an administrator, right? So one day I might be working with folks and teaching them how to create a picture schedule of a program. And another day I might be working in a meeting outside the library. Most of my work is outside the library. It's a lot of outreach and training. So I might be sitting in on the Developmental Disabilities Council meeting, right, to tell them about our events, but also to find out what's going on in that community and how we can support it. Or the District 75, that's our special education district. We go to a lot of their events. We work with the chancellor there. Again, to insert libraries into conversations with folks with disabilities, right? I use a very much a community-led, almost embedded outreach services model, but a community-led model, right? I want the community to tell me what.
Well, and we're always resources, whether we're resources to our school community, our larger community, we are always trying to be that answer to an issue that needs support.
Right.
And, I love that librarians can be that solution. Yeah. You are also a published author 4 times now. Can you give us an idea of what are the kinds of things that you have written about? Because I'm hoping to have a conversation with you in the future.
I've written about serving children with disabilities. I've written about serving teens and adults with developmental disabilities specifically. I have written, and that was with Barbara Clipper. I've written about libraries and gardens, and that was with Cindy Matavia. And the most recent book is called Disrupting the School to Prison Pipeline, an Action Guide for Libraries, and that's with Jill Anderson, who is the reentry coordinator for the Queens Public Library.
Well, and friends, the hope is I'm going to reach out to our people at ALA Editions. They send me any book I ask for. And then this is sort of just a highlight and somebody we hope to invite to join us for future conversations, because anytime we can have an expert join us and help us understand how we can do better when we know better. But I'm very excited. It is coming to ALA. We have an opportunity to rub elbows, with all sorts of people we wouldn't see on a regular basis, and then continue those conversations moving forward. I'm so grateful for you to speak out and share your resources widely. And I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
And let me ask, we're winding down the conference. Do you have anything else on your agenda that you're looking forward to with this conference? It's been a busy couple days.
I'm presenting tomorrow morning at 9:00.
and forgive me, I haven't memorized the schedule.
Really?
No, not today. And you know what, friends? We've been going since, this is the end of the day right now. We're a little fatigued, a little conference fatigue. What are you presenting on this afternoon?
The new book.
The new book?
Mine and Jill's book, yeah.
And don't be surprised, it's already on my app of, and I was hoping to come see your session. So I'm looking forward to it and reading your book.
Right. And I'm also doing I'm doing a huddle. Jill and I are doing a huddle, and I think this might be of interest to your readers. It's on discipline, like how we prevent unexpected behaviors in the library, right? How we help students know what's expected of them in the library and to do what's expected of them in the library.
Oh, that sounds amazing. As somebody who, because oftentimes our spaces are seen as recess. It is seen as a structure-free, free-for-all.
Right.
And oftentimes our students have been known to take liberties.
Sure.
Because the expectation is that if their teachers aren't there, well, the librarian's not going to do anything about that. So no, oh my goodness, friends, my calendar is getting busy already. I'm looking forward to our paths crossing again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Friends, I greatly appreciate all the attendees who took out time of their busy day at the conference to share their experiences on the podcast. There were almost 1,500 attendees walking throughout the convention center, and I was so excited to capture that energy and excitement by recording conversations in real time. I will continue to offer this type of episode because there is nothing better and more authentic than connecting with librarians as we go about our conference. If you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. Are you curious to know how often your state or country has been featured on the podcast? Then simply click on the link, which can be found in our show notes. Search title, author, state, and country, and do a Command F search. I hope this is the year you consider being a guest on the show. Please visit the FAQs in every episode, and you'll realize just how easy it is. We all have something to share. Make 2026 your time to shine. Next week's episode is a follow-up to an earlier episode, Imposter Syndrome, with Amanda Chacon. I received quite a bit of listener feedback expressing gratitude for sharing such an important and incredibly vulnerable topic on the podcast. Be sure to tune in next week when Amanda Chacon returns with important insight gathered during a recent survey of over 100 school librarians on the topic of imposter syndrome. I hope you will tune in.